Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, crisis strategist, licensed attorney, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we explore current crises on our mission to keep you out of crisis. Officer Aaron Alpert is hostage negotiator for the Santa Monica Police Department. He is an FBI-certified crisis negotiator who teaches a class on effective communication. Officer Alpert is here for the case file I call De-escalation tactics. Officer Alpert, we live in a world where school-age kids, sadly, have to do active shooter training. Mental health is involved in a lot of your investigations. What do you consider a crisis situation?
Thank you very much for having me. So, a crisis, the general definition, would be an emotionally stressful event or situation that has an abrupt change or an unexpected change in a person's behaviors and their actions. So, typically, that could be pending criminal charges, that could be custody issues, that could be domestic issues, loss of a job, and financial issues. And oftentimes, when we see some of those issues going at it together concurrently, we call that a double whammy, the technical term. So when those people are experiencing these crises, we as negotiators, we really need to jump in the hole with them so they feel like they're being heard and we hear what they're saying. We're listening to what they're saying, and we kind of get their perspective on the situation.
I love hearing that you say you're listening, and I want to get into some of your tips for active listening in a moment. But first, can you give us a visual on a common crisis situation? Maybe you could give us one of the most common so we can set the scene. And what do you do when you get onto that scene?
Sure. So the most common crisis that I see is unfortunate. It's suicide and suicidal subjects. And often when these subjects are experiencing suicidal ideations, it's the first time that they're talking about it. And we as the negotiators really need to be in a position where we hear them and we hear what they're saying, because they don't maybe want to kill themselves. They don't want to hurt themselves, but they just want to be heard. And it's important as a crisis negotiator to be very specific when you are talking to these individuals, rather than asking them, do you want to hurt yourself versus do you want to kill yourself? Because then you're really attacking the issue and you get them to speak and to really explain what they're going through.
So that's a strong word when you say, do you want to kill yourself? You use that line so that something registers that that's final if they were to succeed in that act?
Yeah, because more often than not, I've heard people say, no, I don't want to kill myself. I'm just having a bad day, or no, I just needed time to think or process or be by myself. So you can gain good intelligence that way. And ultimately, you can then coordinate with other teams and officers, fire department, mental health to see exactly where this individual's mindset is. And I want to be clear too about being a crisis negotiator. What people see on TV or in movies, it's not just one negotiator. There might be one negotiator speaking to an individual, but there is a team of people behind them that are gaining intel, doing background on this individual, writing down everything he or she says, coordinating with other officers, other units. So it's a team that goes into a negotiation where there is, yes, one primary negotiator and a coach, but there is a team of people in a successful negotiation.
I love that you describe that to us because, yes, as much as I get into all those TV shows with police and FBI and you know, NCIS, all those shows, and it seems like there's a bit of a team, you know, the people back at the ranch on all the tech, they've got all the tech going and they text you the address or where to go or whatnot. But I'm sure it's less dramatic than that, but it's still a lot of hard work and a lot of people that are involved to de-escalate the situation.
Yes, 100%. There's a team of people, and everybody can be a primary negotiator. It's a very fluid and dynamic situation when you get on scene. And we are all trained to have the different roles and responsibilities so we're capable to perform when needed.
You talk about how active listening is so important. Take us through what you do on those kinds of scenes, because here on the Crisis Files, we also love the people who come on like you that are real world practitioners of crisis negotiation and live in and out of crisis situations, giving the rest of us, whether we're business people or neighborhood associations, running teams, giving other people that aren't the expert that you are the kind of advice when it comes to these situations. So let's start with the active listening. What do you hope you bring to the scene that could also teach the rest of us?
Okay, so in a crisis as a negotiator, we like to say time is on our side. Because with time, it allows us to gain information about the person. It allows other resources to get in place, to get on scene. Oftentimes, other team members and partners of mine may be at home and they have to travel maybe an hour to get to where the incident is. So to buy time for those resources to get in place is crucial. And that's part of the active listening ladder. So at the end of the upper level of the ladder, I would say, is the behavioral change. And then at the bottom, maybe you have like empathy and understanding, you build trust and rapport, then you can gain influence on the subject to ultimately have that person make their own behavioral change. We, as police officers, can initiate behavioral changes, but as a negotiator, I really want to build rapport with that person so they decide on their own, okay, I'll come outside, I'll leave the weapon inside, I'll come talk to you face to face, or I'll send out a hostage. So once you get in that hole with them, you gain their perspective, you listen, they feel like they're being heard, then you can gain influence and a behavioral change.
And I know you teach a class on effective communication. And I always say myself as a crisis strategist, different from what you're doing for sure. But I always say communication is the foundation and the umbrella for everything that we do. And you have a really great chart. You kind of outlined it for us, starting with empathy and then building up to the behavioral change. But you can't have behavioral change until you have that empathy. You build trust and you get up to that high end of the change.
Yeah, and that's why we have this emotional wheel or a pie chart, it might look like. And so as a negotiator, when you're asking a person the difference between how do you feel or do you feel abandoned, that's a strong emotional labeler. And so if I can get feedback from a person that says, no, I don't feel abandoned, I feel betrayed,
Wow.
then you're really gaining information and how they feel. And then you can ask a follow-up question. What makes you feel betrayed? It's also a reflective mirroring component. It's also an open-ended question. And we like to see that versus yes and no because it buys time and we gain more information.
I really love this, and we will share the wheel with crisis filers. The thing, when you talk through this with us, Aaron, these are things that anyone can use, bosses with their teams, employees with each other, parents with their kids. I mean, it's pretty amazing how these very serious crisis negotiation skills that you're using often in life and death situations translate into all different kinds of playing fields.
Yes, exactly. When I teach this effective communication class, we teach it to all walks of life, civilians, police officers, people out in the community. And there's pretty much, there's two things. There's 5 universal truths. People want to be treated with dignity and respect. They want to be given options versus being told. If you are telling them to do something, they want to be told why. And they want second chances. So they want to save face. So as a negotiator, if I can say to a person that I'm negotiating with, maybe they're in a workplace or maybe they're at home in their neighborhood and they don't want to feel embarrassed that, this whole street is shut down and now they have to walk outside and maybe feel that embarrassment of seeing all their neighbors looking at them. If I can give them an option to, okay, what makes you feel comfortable in coming outside? Would you like to go out the back, the side? Where would you like me to meet you? So it's giving them options, making them feel like they're being heard. And then to the example that you used about parenting, when you're dealing with a child who maybe is having a temper tantrum or acting erratic, they really can't think clearly because their emotions are so high. So, as a negotiator, when you're dealing with people in crisis, they have high emotions. And in order to get them to think logically, we need to balance them on the seesaw. So, buying time allows them for their emotions to get lower and raise rational thinking. So as a negotiator, we're constantly trying to balance that seesaw of emotional and their rationale, so we can get logical thinking, and then a behavioral change can happen in a
That is
successful
like, it's a really
negotiation.
good visual you give us of the seesaw. What I imagine, though, is you need to stay super calm right
Yeah.
here and so level. How do you do that, Aaron? I mean, you're obviously trained, but still, I mean, these are a lot of emotions that play on you, on the rest of your team. What are some tips for staying calm in that chaos?
I would say it's not really what you say, but how you say it. So reminding yourself to have your tone is very important when you're talking with someone, and to also focus on perspective taking. Try to put yourself in their position to jump in the hole with them, not to minimize their situation, but to kind of try to gain their perspective or their outlook, because then you can offer maybe logical support and feel as if that person in crisis has a partner to get out of that hole.
In the past, you've taught me the term tactical mindset. What does that mean? Can you give us a visual on how we all could have more of a tactical mindset?
Sure. So for a tactical mindset, I would think, what you want to occur down the road. But for me, it's more of how can I have a peaceful and safe resolution, thinking about my partner's safety, as well as the person I'm speaking to, the subject safety, tactically speaking, with active listening skills, and then actual physical tactics for officers on scene. So it's kind of having a long term, broad range thinking, kind of thinking. It's like chess. You want to think maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Yeah, the long game. What's the long game? So at the Santa Monica PD, you have a crisis negotiation team, which is extraordinary. Does every department, whether sheriff or police around the United States, have something like this?
Um, s- Most law enforcement agencies do, I would say, especially on larger levels, such as a county sheriff department or like the Los Angeles PD. Every FBI division has crisis negotiators. And then if you're at a smaller agency, you may not have a crisis negotiation team. But we at Santa Monica, we're very fortunate to have a lot of good negotiators and a lot of support from patrol officers that want to hone their skills on negotiation.
Wow. Well, it's fascinating stuff. I always said, well, not this isn't known widely, but some of my close family and my husband know that if I weren't doing what I were doing now, I would want to be an FBI profiler, crisis negotiator. So maybe I could live the dream a little bit, Aaron, and come visit you in Santa Monica and do a ride along at some point. Do you allow civilians to do that?
Sure. We have a community citizens academy that people are welcome to sign up for. And not just the component of crisis negotiation, you also can learn about every aspect of the police department, SWAT, community affairs, our homeless liaison team, patrol. You get to go on a ride along. You get to go out, visit our harbor guard, maybe go on the boat, depending on weather. But yeah, the Citizens Academy is a great outlook and provides tremendous insight in law enforcement.
So if you're in Santa Monica, you can do that. I'm sure every department has something like that. I want to mainly do the ride-along, so we'll talk offline, Aaron. We'll see what Aaron can do for me. We'll find out more about Officer Aaron Alpert's work on both X and Instagram at Santa Monica PD. Today's case file is powered by Gov Public. Reputation issues can arise quickly and unexpectedly. Prepare and plan before a crisis strikes with Gov Public, an award-winning public relations and public affairs agency. Your best defense is a crisis-ready culture that helps you spot potential issues, act swiftly, and reflects your brand's values while building trust with your audiences. Learn more at govpublic.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Visit thecrisisfiles.com for all 4 seasons of the show. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.